Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're comparing a Ram 1500 Bighorn to a Chevy Silverado RST. These trucks have pretty much the same exact MSRP, so they're as comparable as it gets. Before we get into this video, I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Ram here in Provo and the Chevy here in Provo for giving me some time with both of these trucks. I'm going to include a link to both their websites in the description down below so you can check out what they have currently. And then on a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Powering the Ram is a 5.7 liter Hemi V8 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 22 on the highway, with power outputs being 395 horsepower and then 410 pound-feet of torque. Now, powering the Chevy is the 3.0 Duramax that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 23 around town and then 27 on the highway, with power outputs being 305 horsepower and then 495 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we move forward with this review, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So with the Bighorn, I picked out a night edition package because it blacks everything out on the truck. I mean, you can see literally everything is blacked out. We've got tow hooks here on the front end, fog lights as well, and then you guys can see halogen lights, and then notice the 1500 badge blacked out, except for the e-torque is blue. And then with the Chevy, I got the RST package with everything blacked out because I feel like that is most similar to the Bighorn right there. But anyways, you got your Duramax badge. You can see with the Chevy bow tie, even that's been blacked out. Tow hooks, fog lights. But with the headlights, they are not halogens like what you have over with the Ram. So you get a little bit of an upgrade there. But anyways, there's the front ends. Now around the side here, our tire wheel setup is 275, 55, 20 in the front and over in the rear. And you guys can see with the wheels, again, blacked out. Same thing with the Ram badge. And here's a few steps back so you can see the full side profile. Now, something to mention with the Ram, independent front suspension, solid rear axle, multi-link in the back. And then with the Chevy, our tire wheel setup is 275, 60, 20 in the front and over in the rear. Wheels are all blacked out. We actually have all-terrain tires though with the Chevy because Z71 package. And then taking a few steps back, independent front suspension like the Ram, solid rear axle like the Ram, but we have traditional leaf springs in the back with the Chevy. Now, taking a look at the key fobs, you can see functionality is pretty similar, but the Chevy does have a tailgate drop down with the key fob, whereas the Ram does not. And then popping into the bed, you guys can see we have protection from the factory with the Chevy, and this one actually has the multi-pro, so this turns into a step system, which is pretty neat if you ask me. And clicking that all together is pretty easy. You can kind of get that all up in one motion. I guess I should have filmed the rest of the bed, but anyways, we have LED bed lights. We also have a handle here in the bed as well. And so yeah, nice practicality here. And popping over to the Ram, it's a truck bed. We've got a cargo light there at the top, but you can add bed effects. This particular one just doesn't have it. And then with the tailgate, super light. And then finishing things up with the rest of the rears, you can see with the Chevy, again, everything's all blacked out. We got the bumper steps. We have what I call the squished exhaust tip covers. And then with the Ram, you can see circular with the exhaust tips. And then notice with the badges all blacked out. But anyways, let me know which design you like better on the exterior. And then legroom here in the back is really good. We also have a little storage net here in the Chevy, and then you guys can see with the door panel design. Also have some vents back here, USBs, all of that. And we got some little cup holder armrest. There is under-seat storage as well. And then headroom, it's good. The Ram is just as spacious here on the back, and then you guys can see a little storage pocket. And then we got this nice area. I think this looks a little bit nicer than the Chevy. And then you can see the door panel design here. We also have ice buckets in the Ram too, which is cool. The seat does fold up just like the Chevy, so under-seat storage. And then headroom, it's also really good. And bada bing, bada boom. Give it a second. Pop it on. So you can see full digital gauge cluster here with the Chevy. If the camera will focus on it. And we've got some drive modes here with the Chevy too, including an off-road mode. And we even have a tow haul mode that'll automatically turn on the diesel exhaust brake. And then you can see here, again with the finish on the door panel, nice trim. We also have stuff like adaptive cruise control, heated steering wheel. We've got an advanced four-wheel drive system. All of your light controls right there. And then with the infotainment system, take a second to load up. First off, we just have a regular backup camera, nothing too fancy there. And then pretty responsive infotainment system. Overall, it's got like that auxiliary tab right there. So easy enough to use. And then down below you can see all the physical buttons. Some cool stuff, hill descent control. We also have a G80 locking rear differential, so it's automatic. You can see for the tailgate drop down to lane departure. And then notice dual zone climate, heated seats, trailer brake controls integrated from the factory. And then we do have a bench seat configuration with this, which does include some under seat storage there. And then we do have a manual mirror dimmer. And then the rear glass is fixed. And popping in the Ram, ooh, pretty cool animation there. So you guys can see with the gauge cluster, half analog, half digital, so not full digital like the Chevy. Some of you will actually prefer this over the full digital. And then you guys can see the door panel, you get like soft touch and everything. All of our window controls and most mirrors do power fold in. And then you guys can see with the light control setup right there, also got a pedal adjustment, which is nice. Practical controls here, just regular cruise control, no adaptive. And then this one has the big 12-inch display, which is nice. Just a traditional backup camera with it. But yeah, it responds very well. It's easy to use. I feel like it's just as good as the Chevy infotainment system. And you guys can see some of the analog buttons down below with the controls, trailer brake controls too. This also has an advanced four-wheel drive system, and you've got the auto stop start. No locking differential though. And then this has Ram center console, which I will say, best center console in the truck industry. I do prefer this to the bench seat over there in the Chevy. Got the double glove box set up. And then this actually has rear glass that opens, so that's a nice thing. And out of order, but anyways, Ram payload is 1,608 pounds, and Chevy payload is 1,600 pounds. And then the MSRP on this Chevy after all options, $62,960, and on the Ram, $62,260. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility over the hood of the Chevy, both the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear, and let's set off in the Chevy. So I did have a choice, and let me know if you guys think if I made the wrong choice. I had a choice between this truck and then another one that had the 5.3 V8. They're both 62 MSRP. I picked this one because I figured that, you know, the 5.7 Hemi is the most premium engine in the Ram, and the Duramax is the most premium engine in the Silverado, in my opinion. I know some people might say the 6.2 V8 is more premium, but yeah, I don't know. I thought that would make it more fair, but I can do another review 5.3 V8 versus 5.7 if you guys want to see that. So let me know in the comment section below if that's something that you want to see. But anyways, actually setting off here, Duramax is amazing. You guys know I'm a huge fan of this powertrain. If you follow the channel, it's super smooth, the 10-speed, and it's got really good power. It's just, you never feel like you're in a situation where you just don't have enough power. It's just torque, torque, torque all day. So I think that's fantastic. And it's relatively quiet too. See the acceleration here. It's, you know, it's not as fast as a big V8, but it's got such good power. It's more than enough. I don't feel like when I drive one of these trucks around, I don't feel like I need more power. And with a diesel, you don't really go full throttle. You just go partial throttle, ride the torque wave again. Almost 500 pound-feet of torque. You just ride that and you just have a good time. So yeah, I'm a big fan. I like how the Chevy drives. I think the ride quality is pretty good with the leaf springs. I will say though, a deficit of leaf springs is when you go over big enough bumps, right, the back end kind of comes unhinged a little bit more than what you're going to have with multi-link, right? Multi-link always stays more planted. We'll see that when we drive the Ram. But yeah, with the driving of the Chevy, love the powertrain, and I think that the truck overall drives pretty dang well. Let's go compare it to the Ram. Well, let's talk about visibility before we set off in the Ram. There's visibility over the hood, both the mirrors, throughout the rest of the rear. And let us set off in the Bighorn. I've already come to kind of a soft conclusion with this comparison, but drive the Bighorn just to make sure that it's a firm conclusion. But first off, seat comfort's a bit better in the Ram. The seats in that Chevy are kind of firm. So yeah, I do like the seats more. It does have a smoother feel with the ride quality too. It feels a little bit more planted. So I think they've done a great job with that. And I do like this Hemi. I mean, it does have that Hemi punch that you all know and love. Smooth. I still like the diesel torque a little bit more, but this is still great. I mean, 410 pound-feet versus 495. It's a bit of a difference, but I mean, 410 is still a big figure with torque. Yeah, very smooth. I do think this has more of a, kind of feels a little more luxury. Feels a little more comfortable. Okay, we'll get our acceleration here. Yeah, Hemi power. I mean, the horsepower definitely helps out, but it doesn't feel as big as you'd like. The power difference doesn't feel as big as you'd think it would. So to sum things up, I think the Chevy wins in the powertrain department, and I think the Ram wins in the truck department for this comparison. I know, crazy, right? Because like, I feel like for the last, gosh, year or so, I've been pretty hard on Ram, you know, but it's just because of the pricing. But now that General Motors has increased the price on all of their trucks quite substantially, and Ram's held firm, they haven't increased their prices. Now when you look money for money, yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think, but I just think that they pretty much have the same features. They're pretty much identical. Let me make sure this has, yeah, it's got heated seats and heated steering wheel. So they pretty much have the same features. This has the power steering window, whereas the Chevy does not. And the payload's actually the same. Usually the Chevy has more payload because leaf springs versus the multi-link setup. I forgot I can't go on there. Dang it. Anyways, leaf springs versus the multi-link setup. But yeah, the payload is more on the Ram, 8 pounds. So basically the same payload. So all in all, what I'm getting at here is I would go out on a limb and say, not even on a limb, I would say that, yeah, I think the Ram, I think this truck, value for the money, nicer truck, but I do like that Duramax powertrain so much that I think the powertrain wins there. So let me know your thoughts, Ram versus Chevy, but in this comparison, yeah, crazy. Ram pretty much won.